I believe I am live. Let me go double check things. Let's see. Alright, that's not it. Let's look at this. If anybody is here, go ahead and say something so that I know you're here while I'm checking that we're working. I usually have this already going where I can check it easily, and of course, do not right this second. Alright. Alright, forget that. Let me just do it from my phone, because my computer is being obnoxiously slow. It does have quite a few things running right now, to be fair. Alright, cool. It's live! Alright, so, hey friends, there's a lot to cut out there. 2 whole minutes. As you can see, I am not wearing any makeup. That's why it looks like I don't actually have eyeballs, but I do. But we are recovered from our recent unpleasantness, and today is our last day of having to isolate. So tomorrow we are starting our normal routine life day thing. Lord willing, in the creek don't rise. So, which I recently heard that phrase might have meant creek as in the Native American tribe. I always thought it meant the actual, you know, body of water that sometimes has water and sometimes does not. And, you know, when the creek rises, you can't use the roads. I mean, that's the way. Anyway, etymology is a funny thing. So, what we're really here to talk about, though, is sewing and Projector sewing, and especially Affinity Designer. So that's what we need to jump on into. I'm going to start with something that I told somebody on the Projectors for Sewing group that I would do quickly at the beginning, and then we'll jump into the things I wanted to talk about. And then some of the topics today are going to be grading for an adult pattern, kind of a faux knit FBA cheater thing, how I kind of simplify patterns, especially the ones that come with a lot of options. We'll do some height adjustments for adult patterns, and then I'll show you pattern tetris, which I'm really excited to show you. And then of course, Diane. So, and then after that, we're going to have at least one more of these videos where I kind of show you how I finalize a pattern for projecting and, you know, get it into, what is that program called? Adobe, for projecting. So, that's my general plan. There's several other things to do. I got a brilliant idea yesterday about kind of a drafting your own pattern thing, not anything intense, but something like a circle skirt that you can make for your own size. So we might go ahead and do another video for that. We'll kind of see how things land. But I am planning, so today we're doing this live on YouTube, and then 2 weeks from now we should be doing class number 4 live on YouTube, and then the last Sunday of this month I'm going to do a room in my Facebook group, because that allows everybody to have their camera on, and you can share your screen, and if anybody has some maybe troubleshooting you want to do, we can do it that way so we can see each other's screens. And then I am still really playing around with the idea for some Zoom classes where we can get in a little bit more nitty-gritty, but if we do, that'll probably be this summer before it happens, because I've got a lot of videos that I really want to focus on making. So, all right, I think that's all of those houseworking things. I'm going to, I responded to Diane a second ago, but she said, thank you for the explanation between Inkscape and Affinity Designer in video 1, and you're welcome. Honestly, I was never really able to use use Inkscape much because it was so janky on my computer. So that's how this whole Affinity Designer thing sort of started. So we're going to go over to that and get going. All right, so the thing I said I would do was measuring a line. And they were wondering, how would you measure how long a line is? So I am going to, so I went ahead and imported these, but I did not do a whole lot of work ahead of time to like ungroup things or anything like that. So that's what I'm going to do right this second as I'm ungrouping things so that I can isolate down to what I need. All right, are we there yet? We might be. All right, I double clicked on that line, which brought up the node tool. And you can see that this whole shape is being counted as one line. So if I want to just know the length of that sleeve, I can break the curve right there and then go to the top. And then now, are we wanting to do from the sleeve head or are we wanting to do from here? Let's just say we're doing the length right here. We can break that curve there. And then when we select this line, oh, you know what I've not done? Hey, here's a thing you might need to know how to do. We need to go, hold on, let's click on this and go over to here and go to document setup. And let's change points to inches. And what I'm actually going to go ahead and while we're here, make my board bigger because I don't know if you saw, but this has very little space to work with. So I'm going to make it about 100 here. I'll leave it 100 there. That's fine. Because I'm going to delete some things off this too. It says anchor to page, so it's not going to rescale. So we're good there. All right, let's go back to this. Double clicking on that line. Where I want you. There we go. All right, so with this line isolated using the node tool and then selected with the move tool, you can see that the line is 21 1/3 inches tall and 4 inches wide. That's kind of giving you the this dimension. It's not necessarily giving you that what do I want to call it? Crooked dimension? And let's see, let's pull it off here by itself. So how do I want to do? So it's the reason it's doing that is because this is not a perfectly straight line. It's because it's a kind of, you can see a little bit curved line. And then it's got that little leg down there. So it's telling us though that it's 21 inches. I don't know that you'll ever really need to, you know, determine the length of a sleeve that way. What I usually need when I'm determining the length of the sleeve is from the sleeve head to wherever the sleeve is going to end. And so we do have another couple of choices we can do for that. And I think the easiest thing would probably be to use a pen tool and start at that shoulder and then use the shift key so that it's a straight line and put it down at the bottom there. And then if we go back to the move tool and that line is still highlighted, that tells us that the length of that line is 28.7 whatever inches. And then if we wanted to tell over here how long this line was, we could also do this. We could, if we were wanting to see how long the sleeve was from over here, we could do it like this. So I'm going to shorten it down so it's here, and then I'm going to, is it not going to let me drag that sideways? Huh. I'm not sure why it's not letting me drag that sideways, but I can just create a new line. Let's create a new line. Come on. From right here on that sleeve head down to right here where that sleeve ends. Well, that's the seam allowance, so we'll do like that. Oh, now you're... Stop. There you go. Alright, so if I go back over here to the move tool and that line is highlighted, you can see that that length right there is 20 inches. So that can be a couple different ways you can measure the length of something. And another way, a lot of times I measure something is if I want to see something really precise, you can just sort of start right here in this ruler and you can drag down. I just clicked from there and drug down a little guideline. And here I'm going to grab the other one I pulled a second ago. And this is really nice because you can really zoom really far in and get down to it. And then I can measure between those two by either putting a line on it or sometimes what I do is put a rectangle. A lot of times what I'm needing to do is to make that a certain amount so I can actually make the rectangle. Let's say I want the rectangle to be 16 inches tall. And then I can put it right up against that guideline, and then I know, okay, I need to bring the bottom of that up those 4 inches or whatever it is. We're going to actually talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. Alright, so that was kind of quickly how I would do that. One of the big complaints is that it's difficult to measure a curved line in Affinity, and I would honestly, if we're talking about like truing up a sleeve, I would probably true it up kind of by manipulating it against the other, like the sleeve head against the arm side, or make it 100% and measure it with a measuring tape on my screen if I really need to do it that way. You know, there's ways around it. And I really haven't run into a problem yet where I really needed to be able to measure that and wasn't able to. So I'm going to see if there's any questions or anything going on over in the chat, and then we will jump into what I really intended to talk about today. And I have to remember, I need to give you guys a better warning when I'm going to go check the chat because there is a time delay. If there was a buzzing that just stopped, I just turned off my speaker. Alright, let's go back. Let's jump into what I was really wanting to show you guys today. Alright, so one of the first things I do, I really love patterns that have a ton of options, but it can be really overwhelming when there's all these options on here that I don't plan to use. So one of the first things I like to do is just start deleting the extra. Start deleting the stuff that I don't need when I am going to make whatever I'm fixing to make. It just gives everything a much cleaner look, and it allows me to only really work with the things that I need to work with. So, you know, let's say I'm not going to do any of these extras on this, and I'll just start deleting things until it kind of makes sense. Oh, that's not going to fit, is it? Oh, so this AO was put together, and there's 2 different pages, and it views each page separately. I forgot about that. So that kind of gives you double the things to have to delete right where the pages come together. But that's fine. Maybe. Are we still grouped? There we go. All right. So that's, I really like simplifying the pattern whenever I am going to only be needing part of it, because it just makes it so much easier for me when I go to project to just have the pieces that I want to have. Oh, Control Z, because I don't know what I just did. And then ungroup this some more. Why are you so grouped? Okay, can we maybe work with this yet? There we go. So you can see it can be kind of annoying sometimes when they're all grouped all funky. But eventually I'll get this all deleted. Alright. Let's just say that all we need from down here is the back bodice and the bottom of the sleeves. So we'll get rid of a lot of this stuff right here. I already showed a lot of grading for children where you're kind of doing like their height by their width separately. But with adults, and sometimes with kids, it depends on how specific I'm wanting to be with my kids, how much detail I go into when I'm grading for them. Because they're kids and their clothes don't fit quite as well because they grow out so quickly. But as adults, we try to, fit our clothes pretty well. And a lot of times, we are not the same size in different parts of our bodies. Before I go any further on this, I'm going to grab that and I am going to rotate that way and sort of move it over here, and then I'm going to grab, it's going to be easier if I move this other stuff out of the way. Or how about all of it? Move that stuff, and then I kind of move the sleeve out of the way, and then I can move the bodice. Because, see, it's still going to grab stuff over here I don't want it to grab. Come on, just grab the stuff I want you to grab. What's getting grabbed? Okay, let's... I'll be happy with this in a second. Alright, I don't want that. Why are you doing this? I swear I don't usually have this much trouble. I'm just going to move that. And we've lost some notches and some markings, but for our purposes today, I'm not going to fuss about that too much. Okay, this sleeve is out of the way now, so now I can grab this, and I can rotate that, and now everything's at least right side up. Alright, cool. I am not going to do this big handkerchief style thing in my mythical guy right now. Alright, cool. So I honestly don't even know which two sizes I have chosen right here, but let's say that I need this size for the waist and this size for, so I'm gonna need this smaller size for my upper bust, kind of my shoulders and my upper bust, and for my hips, but I'm gonna need this larger size for the waist, and I kind of need an FBA, so we're gonna sort of use this size as a cheat for the FBA. Pretending this works with your measurements, I'm not getting into the whole nitty-gritty of how you would know you need this kind of adjustment. I'm just going to show you how to do it on Affinity Designer, assuming that you know how to do it on paper. We could do a whole nother series on grading and pattern adjustments, and maybe we'll do that one day, but I am not ready to do that yet, because right now I'm just kind of showing you guys what I've learned to do for myself. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is kind of make sure that I have my pattern grouped as one piece. And if I move that, we can see. Okay, so that's going to be as if we were using a bottom band. Let's just pretend that's what we were planning on, even though I've already deleted that piece. This is not a real pattern, so it's not going to really matter. And then there was some extra stuff right there. Alright, there we go. So these should all act as one piece now. I've shown you in other videos how to use the node tool to group things together and create them as one piece. And we may end up doing that in a little bit. So you'll see how to do that again. But if you don't know how to do that, you can go back and watch those other videos. I'm not going to take the time to go into it right this second. So this pattern does have a lengthen, shorten line, and we'll use that too in just a second. So let's start with the grading. Let's grab the node tool, and we're going to grab, I'm going to manipulate this inside one towards the outside one, mostly because I'm not going to be touching this top part here. Okay. If my upper bust is the smaller size, and I'm going to need the smaller size for that sleeve and everything else, then I don't want to touch that. It'll be easier to drag the inside line out. Now, if I need the upper bust in the larger size, I would do it opposite. I would be grabbing the opposite. I'd be grabbing the bigger size and manipulating it towards the smaller size. I'm going to not touch the size that is correct from my upper bust measurement so that I'm not messing with the sleeve, with the arm side, so I'm not messing with the shoulder and all that sort of thing. Does that make sense? I hope so. And I'm going to look at so I am manipulating the small line, or the smaller size. Let's manipulate it out for an upper bust and waist. I'm sorry, let's manipulate it out for the full bust and waist in a grading and also a faux FBA kind of thing. So I could just use these nodes that are already here, but I'm probably going to want a little bit more space. First of all, I'm going to want to make sure that I've got a little bit of that line preserved. So I'll add another node in there. And then I might, well, let's just mess with it like that, and then we might decide to change it a little bit more in a minute. So we added an extra node right there. I just clicked the line. And then I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to drag him out to that bigger size. And you can see this is basically a boob bump. This is kind of what the knit FBAs look like. They look like a boob bump. And if you need it to be more, like if it needed to be farther, you could drag it out wherever it needed to be. And you could, kind of go high with it, go low with it. You could also add some more nodes in there if you want to kind of shape it a little bit more. Let's say I want this to come out just a little less sharply. I can do it like that. And then let's go ahead and leave that there. And then say that we want the waist to come out. Well, actually, that's silly. We can delete that one if we want the waist to come out. Let's bring the waist out towards, and then see, we kind of need a little bit more to bring the waist out. So let's go ahead and let's add a node right here anyways, because we're going to lengthen shorten in a second. So we'll bring that to that lengthen shorten line, and then we'll kind of have it coming back out. Now, if this were for me, I would sort of drag this line a little bit and straighten that out a little bit. And you could even drag this little guy and straighten that line out a little bit, just because dipping back in generally doesn't look as nice on a finished garment, unless your body follows that same curve. All right, so let's say that this is now graded the way we want it to, and we can use the move tool, and we can go ahead and delete that bigger size that is no longer necessary. This is kind of a weird bump, and I'm going to straighten that out a little bit because it bothers me. So it's partly just because of that guy, so we can sort of just shift. These smaller dots are not actually nodes. They help control where this curve goes. I don't know what they're called, but you can drag them, and you can even make them kind of shorter towards there or farther away from it to make the curve sharper or more shallow. So you can mess with that in order to get, the exact curve that you want. So we've got a node right here on this lengthen shorten line. I can't remember if I've shown you guys this or not. I've done this a lot, but I don't know if I've done it on a video. So I'm going to go ahead and break it right there, and I'm going to go over to this other side, add myself another node, and break it right there, and then I'm going to shorten. How will I know how far to shorten? Well, first you need to know how far to shorten based on your body. But let's say I need to make it 2 inches shorter. So I'm just going to make a random shaped square. And then I'm going to go over here and tell it I want that square to be 2 inches high. All right, cool. So now my square is 2 inches high. And I'm going to grab and give myself a guideline. These don't like print. I don't guess print is the right word, but they don't become part of your final project. So I just like using them so I don't have to delete them later. And so that new guideline is where I'm going to move my thing up to it. I was going to delete this, but actually I'm just going to go move it over to the corner so we can use it again in a minute. So I've got the bottom broken from the top. And I know from my length and shorten line to my guideline, there is 2 inches. So I'm going to hold down the shift key so everything moves up in one kind of straight line and drop it there. And then I would normally delete my length and shorten line. I'm going to leave it because I'm going to lengthen for you guys here in a second. So there's nothing really that needs to happen over on this side other than joining these guys back up. And if we get the node to, hold on. I want to make sure that it's the bottom half I have selected right now. And let's open the node tool. All right, I'm just going to drag this node using the shift key back down kind of where the other one is going to end. And I'll grab those two nodes together and close that curve. No, I will not close that curve. That was the wrong choice. I will join that curve. Ooh, wrong button again. All right, here we go. Come back over here. And then over here, I basically just sort of mess with it until it seems right. You know, I'll just kind of scoot this over a little bit that way and just sort of scoot this over a little like that. And yeah, that looks okay. Let's drag this down over till it meets back up right here. And then we'll put those guys together, and now we can close the curve or join the curve or whatever we want to do. All right. So now this is one solid piece again, right? Okay. I'm going to hit undo a whole bunch of times right here until that 2-inch square goes back over there. All right. And now I'm going to show you how to lengthen. Basically, I'm going to put the 2-inch square underneath my line, drag my guideline over here. Move, I can delete that now. I've already broken into 2 different pieces. So I'm going to again use I'm going to show you over here. I'm going to again use the shift key to move it straight down. And then here is where we want to make sure that this straight line is still lining up. And it does. We can grab, yeah, all right, go back up just a hair. All right, now let's use the node tool, and we're going to drag this line back up to there. And then if we are selecting there, we can join those guys back together, joining, not closing. And then over here, you just kind of have to make this line work however it needs to. So the first thing I would do is delete that because it's kind of in my way. And then I'd go back to the node tool and figure out how exactly it makes sense for my body to join these up. And right there, I just sort of drug them down. And then right there, I can join the curves, and I've got another solid piece to work with. All right, so we've done some adult grading. We have done kind of a fake FBA. I showed you how I would simplify it. We've talked about notches on another thing. I think I'm kind of through with this pattern and what I wanted to show you on this one. I'm going to jump over to the chat and see if there's any questions. So go ahead and get those in if you have any. I mean, and if I was lengthening a sleeve or shortening a sleeve, I would do it the exact same way. I would also, you know, if I'm just making it a short sleeve, I could do it the same way. And any sort of grading I need to do is the same kind of deal. So if I was going to make a short sleeve, I don't know why I just did that. If I'm going to make a short sleeve and I need to kind of do a fake full bicep adjustment, I could do the same sort of thing. Just sort of bring it like that. until that curve just makes sense for where I know my body needs it. Now, it does make it harder to kind of do new adjustments for your body. It helps that I kind of started on paper and know what I need to do. But I also think that you can visualize it as much on the computer, or at least I can, as I can with the paper. The nice thing with paper is you can kind of test it on. But when you're working with knit fabrics already, it doesn't always work. So you can always, take what you're doing on the computer, project it onto paper, trace it out, and try it that way. Okay, let me go jump into the chat, see if there's anything going on over there. All right, looks like everybody's either not joined in or totally with me on what I'm doing. I'm just going to assume it's the second one. All right, I'm not going to actually close this. I'm just going to jump over to the second one. Before I get too deep into this, I'm going to go ahead and change this to inches. And I might as well give myself some extra room here. And it moved everything for some reason. So we're just going to select all and put it back over here. I'm not really sure what went on there. All right. Hey, now we have. All right, cool. That's fine. Whatever you wanted to do there. All right, so this just has one size selected. And I'll just do some height adjustments on pants. And then we can talk about some pattern Tetris. So the reason I chose this for the pattern Tetris is just because it's color blocked and you can do some fun things with that. So I know when I made these, I adjusted so much for height. I adjusted in the in each piece, pretty much. I took out some because it's just so, I'm so short that if I don't take it out of everywhere, it can kind of end up proportionately strange looking. But honestly, it's the same thing that we just talked about. Decide how much you need to take out. Give yourself a little block to work with so that you can, see what needs to be. You can visualize it well. You don't always have to use a guideline. The guideline is helpful whenever there's a lot of things going on, but like right here, maybe I don't need the guideline. Maybe I just, are we still all groups? Okay. You just add a node there, add a node there, break the curve. Actually, we could break the curve in both those places. And then we could delete, that's the wrong button, Brandon. Then we could delete that. And then we would know that's what we need to, bring together. And if we brought this over here, we could kind of look at it the same way. We could, this is why I think the guideline is easier to use, because I'm going to have to guesstimate a little bit where this is compared to this line. And if I have the guideline, it makes it easier. But it's kind of a personal preference thing, really, because it's not that difficult to visualize there. Break the curve there. Break the curve there. And we can delete that. And then we can just scoot that up to meet with that. And over here, just kind of grab that node and flare it out a little bit to meet there. And kind of the same thing in reverse for lengthening. Put it under the line and make it bigger instead. Okay. So what I did when I made this pattern was I started by, I started by kind of reorganize, for the love. I started by kind of reorganizing my pieces so they were top to bottom sort of laid out the way the pattern went. This is laid out to maximize paper, not because it is the projector file, but it's really the AO file. All right, so that's what I did first, was I took everything, and this is kind of the, what are you, oh, try that again. All right, that's kind of the top, this is the waistband. This is the, I guess we're going to call it the yoke of these pants. This is part of the waistband, and I just kind of went around like that and put everything generally where it goes. And that really helped me when I was visualizing these to determine which pieces needed to be which color. Hold on, let me see if I can... what I'm wearing right now, actually, this hoodie and these pants are color blocked, and I did it this way. Let me see if I step back, you can see. So it's got a waistband, it's got the top, it's got this color blocked piece, and then it's got the bottom. And then the pocket in the back has different layers. And I made this set to go together. These are from 2 different designers, and this thumb hole cuff is from a 3rd designer, and I laid all this out in Affinity Designer. I can show you the file in a minute, possibly. But so first I did this so that I could visualize everything, and then I gave myself a new file. The dog went a little crazy there. 200 by 200, sure, that's fine. And so I actually gave myself different artboards within this. There's different ways that you can do this. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to treat this as my one big projector file, and I'm going to put some rectangles on here. And so I actually went and I measured my fabric, and right this very second, I'm just going to make some stuff up. But whenever I did this, I actually measured my fabric so that I knew exactly how much I had to work with, because I wanted to make sure I got everything cut out of my fabric that I wanted. So I made the width of my rectangle here the length of my fabric. Let's say I had 85 inches of it. And then I made the height of my rectangle the width of my fabric. But I was cutting on the fold because I had a lot of pieces that were mirrored and a lot of pieces that were cut on folds. And frankly, I would rather cut it once than twice. So I did it for half of my fabric width, which let's just say was, well, it was, I think it was 28 inches on most of them. I had cut some things off, so it wasn't always, just go with that. We're going to go 28 inches because if it's a 60-inch fabric and you take it in account selvage, a lot of times that's what you're left with anyways. All right, so this this right here is my fabric. And you can give yourself, you know, this is kind of gray right here. You can do that and actually kind of color code it lightly, or you can use this tool right here to add some text. I can add a text box right here and say, this is my black, hold on, let's zoom in so we can see. This is my black fabric. Now you can see that I zoomed in and I still can't see that. I'm just going to use Control A to select that. And then I'm going to go over to this font right here. I'm going to make it ginormous. And then if this doesn't automatically change with it, you need to change that to be similar to this number, and this number need to be similar, or your writing is going to go crazy. All right. You can make that as big or as small as you want to. I just went with 96 point just because it seemed like it would work right then. And so then I just started bringing pieces over. So if we're recreating what I've got on right now, all of these band pieces, and I did not cut them from this file, I copied them from this file. Can you cut them from the file? Sure, but you'll end up with an empty file. And if that's what you want, fine. If not, don't do it. So when I paste, I'm going to immediately, before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And because this is the correct direction. This is getting my grain line in the right direction. Now, you can kind of bring everything over and then start tetrising, or you can just kind of start tetrising, whatever you want. And actually, this pocket probably would not end up in this color, if I remember right. Is that the... Oh, that is a centerpiece. That would end up that color. Don't listen to me. All right, so this is actually the front. So that would definitely be here. And then that's the back. And if that's not the lining, then we don't need that if we're doing the color block option. So we can go ahead and delete that one. And all the other... I just moved that twice. Yeah, I did. All right. I just moved the this because this isn't at the back. I'm going to do right click and arrange. Oh, it is at the back because it's telling me the other one, I can only move it forward. Well, then why did you do that? I want you to take all these little guys right there and delete them. Thank you. So I just keep pulling things over there. So I had this front part there. This, all right, not you. And not you. All of you, yes. And this, oh, and something that I did not do was group this all together. I should have grouped it all together a second ago, too. So this one is not a cut-on fold. This one is a mirror. I guess I never finished doing this either. Guys, I am scattered tonight. All right, I'm going to group that so I can move it without losing pieces. And we'll pretend like this is the fold here. And I will group this. And I will put this on the fold. And obviously, as I kind of go, I'm going to move things around as part of the tetrising to make sure things end up in the places that make the most sense for everything to fit in it. So here is the, let's see, these are the front and back linings, and those I also did in black. So I grab those two. Come on, both of you select. What is going on? Apparently my computer's gonna freeze up now. Cool, cool. All right, copy, paste, rotate, and then put them here. They're not lined up to put them both on the fold at the same time. So I do it one at a time. Now, some of these needed to be cut on the fold, but needed to be cut more than once. Those I unfolded and placed on the flat so that I could mirror them basically and still get to it once. Let me find that file. Let's see. I think it's this one. Yeah. All right, so this is the one that I did. So I used Power Mesh interlining for my waistband, and I needed one each of those, and I went ahead and cut it flat because Power Mesh is super slippery and it kind of rubs on itself and slides all over the place. So I just went ahead and cut that flat, and then over here. This was how I did the black. So I had already unfolded these and then decided to go ahead and cut them on the curve. So I still had my fold line there, and I just lined my fold line up with the edge there. And you can see, like, I have this, I flipped it in order to fit it better. And my letters ended up backwards, but it's fine. And I was able to fit, I had some extra space right here, but it didn't really work right for how I was lining things up. But I very precisely cut out, and I did not have a lot of black fabric left over at all when I was done. You can also see that I had to rotate my screen in Adobe the way I put it. The way I did it over here makes a lot more sense. It's just a lot of rotating here. You can do it like this and then rotate the entire thing. Like I could take that entire thing right there and rotate it all at once, which might make more sense. But to me, this is the layout that makes sense when you get into Adobe, because my table is this shape, right? My table is wider than it is tall. And so that's the way I'm going to lay that fabric out that's going to make the most sense. So then I had gray. Now I made separate artboards, but you can also do it just making separate rectangles. I would just make another rectangle over here, and let's make this one, let's say I had more of this. This one was 95 by 28. And then I could just, instead of having black fabric, I could have gray fabric there or whatever. And so then the point is just move the pieces around till it makes sense. And hoods are hard. They are weird shapes, and they just end up weird. And I actually think when I went to cut this out, I actually did end up cutting this out over here because it didn't make any sense to be cutting it out over there. So I just sort of stuck it right there. And so there was this weird piece that, didn't quite get taken advantage of in the best way. But then I had all this kind of left over too. And then with the red, I ended up having a lot left over. And I need to do something else with this red because it's really soft. But yeah, I just sort of set, so these were supposed to be cut on fold right here. But I needed 2 of them. So for that, I unfolded it and then had it as here so I could cut 2 at once. I'm just all about the laziest cutting possible. But this I left cut on fold because it made sense to me that way. Something else I have done to help when I am fabric tetrising. Here, let's do this. Something else I've done is giving myself a double fold to work with, and I'm going to make it where you see my face so I can go digging in my files and find the one I want to show you guys, because I didn't think about having this pulled up ahead of time. This is definitely one of those times that if you have questions or I have left you totally in the dust, go ahead and write about it. Let me see, which one was it? Looking to see which one I had folded double. Oh, wasn't that one. So I did this at Christmas for Christmas pajamas so that I could get the most out of my fabric. That's really, I don't do this every time. This is a big old pain, and I really don't do it every single time. It's a lot of prep work before you get into the actual sewing, and but it's really, really helpful whenever, here it is. It's really, really helpful whenever you have those, okay, cooperate with me. It's really, really helpful whenever you have just a little bit of fabric and a lot to cut, and you want to make sure that you get it done right. So this other way I did it was I made a folder that was called like Christmas pajamas or something like that, and I had the fabric kind of separate, and I went ahead and labeled it anyways. That one was characters fabric, and this was pajama pants for my 2 guys, and then this light bulbs fabric, see, it says light bulbs right there. And I went ahead and marked it too. I told myself folded right there, and I didn't actually write folded again over here, but I told myself selvages right there, and I gave myself a big old line to fold to, which was super helpful. And then I was able to use a double fold. And now the thing with the width of my table, I actually had to cut this as one fold and then a second fold. I couldn't quite fit it all on my table all at once, but it was so helpful to fully take advantage of the fabric that I had. And if, as you can see, I mean, there was pieces that were extra, but there weren't any big pieces that I was left with. And this is, by the way, this is that boob bubble that I mentioned earlier. That knit FBA boob bubble. There it is right there. So, all right. This is fabric tetrising how I usually do it. There's about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to go see any chat that's come in and kind of start wrapping things up. I can't believe, but I actually covered everything I intended to cover today, which is awesome. I still feel a little scatterbrained because, you know, that's kind of how I live my life half the time anyways. But with having been sick and crazy for over a week, it just sort of, everything backs up. We got our house cleaned today, though. It was beautiful outside, and so we aired out the house and cleaned and everything, and so at least I feel like we can start tomorrow on a somewhat normal basis. All right, so I went through pretty lightning quick for a lot of things today, but I feel like I was able to cover the things I wanted to cover. If you were just totally lost with the node tool and things like that, hopefully, if things happened the way I intended them to, the first couple of videos covered that in enough depth that I didn't really need to go over it a lot today. If you've watched all 3 videos and you're still totally lost, please drop a comment and I will clarify the best that I can. May have to make another video, or I might be able to type it out, but we'll do what we can. So here's the plan. As we know, plans change, but the plan is 2 weeks from now, on February, not the 13th, the next one, the 20th, we will do another live here on YouTube. And I will show you kind of the finalization stuff that I do to make the text readable, to make sure that I have the notations I need, to, you know, kind of rotate my fabric and have it the way I want it, to make sure that I've got my quick double check of my calibration, how I actually export it as a PDF, all that. We're going to go over that next week. And any other little questions that come up, by little I mean things I can cover fairly quickly between now and then. And if I have something else on my notes that I've forgotten about and I can cover next week, I will. And then that'll be kind of the end of this Intro to Affinity Designer series. And the last Sunday this month, which I think is the 27th, let me look. Yes, the 27th, I will do a room over in my Facebook group. My Facebook group is called Daily Sews and Stuff Friends. You can go to facebook.com/groups/Daily Sews and find it that way. There should be a link in the description box. And so you can join that group, and we can have a room which allows people to show their screens or show their video all together, kind of talking, sort of like Zoom. And so we can do any sort of troubleshooting and that sort of thing that way. And so that's kind of how I will plan to wrap this series up. Very much considering the Zoom classes still, that will be this summer if we are able to move forward with that. After this, these lives are so much easier for me than the kind of recorded and edited videos, but the big things I still need to cover are going to need to be edited videos. So I need to get my short throw projector video done. I need to get my comparison video done. I've had several requests for how to use Affinity Designer to trace a paper pattern that's my alarm, but we have 5 minutes left. I've had several requests to show how to trace a paper pattern, maybe one you've adjusted on paper or that you just need to store this way with Affinity Designer and your projector. And so that, because I would have to switch back and forth between that camera and the screen recording, it's going to be an edited video. So, oh, and the dog's getting restless too. What's up, sis? All right. So we are going to, did y'all hear that thump? She just threw herself down on the ground. All right. So all those will have to be edited videos, and so those will probably be slower to come out than these lives have been, and I know these lives have been really slow, but they take longer. They just do. The editing takes a while. So, yeah, that's kind of my plan for this spring and going into this summer. I've got several personal sewing projects that I have got to get done. So I'm going to focus on that for a little bit and then focus on those other videos, and then it'll almost be summertime, honestly, at that point. It's kind of flying by. And hopefully life is a little bit slower this summer, and I can focus a little bit more on this channel, although, you know, my family is always going to come first. Speaking of my family coming first, my son is walking into the room, and my timer did go off, which means we need to wrap this up.
No,
so,
my timer didn't go off because it died.
Oh, okay. All right, buddy. I don't have a plug in here.
I have.
Okay. Okay, I love you. I'll be done in just a second.
But could you unlock the iPad again for me?
Go. Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Fine. PvP live.
Sewing is fun. All right. Maybe he mumbled enough y'all didn't understand what he said when he left, but it was potty humor because he's 7 and a boy. All right. And by potty humor, I mean literal, like, toilet humor. All right. I don't even know what I was saying or where I'm going here. I am going to wrap this up, and there's no comments to respond to, which is just fine right now. And man, I thought I was better, but after talking for an hour, my voice is sounding a little weird to myself. So yeah, fun times. All right, friends, it was very nice to hang out with you again for another insane session of this. What are you doing, child? Of this insane life that I lead, and talking about Affinity Designer. Thank you.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks, son. And make sure to join me in my Facebook group so we can do that room at the end of the month. All right, I think I've said everything I need to say. Bye, friends.